Hello students, in this video we are going to learn about absolute scale of temperature. You might have heard different scales of temperature like a Celsius scale, Fahrenheit scale, but this absolute scale of temperature is especially for scientific use. In general daily life we use usually either Celsius or Fahrenheit scale. Generally Celsius scale is also called as centigrade scale or some other things, and this is absolute scale of temperature and it is used for scientific purposes only. So let us try to understand how this temperature has come into existence and what is the use of this temperature. First of all, what is temperature? You have studied in your lower classes the temperature is expression of hotness or coldness of your body. So here you can see that suppose you have two bowls like a cold water and warm water. By putting your finger you can tell which one is hot, right? And suppose if you have two more choices, like one is warm water, other one is hot water, and putting the finger again you can tell which one is more warm and which one is more hot. Now just by dipping the finger in the liquids, you can tell which one is hotter, but you cannot tell how much hot it is or how much cold it is. And there is one more problem that you cannot always has the accessibility to put your finger in. Suppose if the substances are very hot, you dare not to put your finger in and tell which one is hot, right? So in that cases, we need a thermometer or we need a device which can tell exactly how much hotter or colder is an object, and without our access it should tell without putting the finger in, right? So we are in quest of that. So that is why we need a thermometer, a temperature measurement device, right? So which can tell whether it is hotter or colder a substance is, how much hotter or how much cold, right? So how we design a thermometer? So first of all we need to identify a thermometric property. So what do you mean by thermometric property? Thermometric property means the property of a substance that changes with the time, that changes with the temperature. So that is called thermometric property, the property of a substance that changes with the temperature, that it should vary with the temperature. Suppose you are increasing the temperature, then the property also should increase linearly with the temperature. Suppose you are decreasing the temperature, the property also should decrease linearly with the temperature. That is called thermometric property. For example, here you can see in general day life, we see that all the materials on supplying heat energy, they expand, their volume increases. We use the same thermometer, that is called one of the thermometric property of the material. On getting the heat, they expand, they increases their size. For example, you see, you can take one metal, mercury. Mercury expands when exposed to heat. That means mercury, it is a liquid metal. Like other metals, it expands when you supply heat to the mercury. We use this kind of thermometric property of mercury and devise a thermometer. You might have seen in Celsius, in doctor's thermometer, there will be mercury level will be there, and based on that mercury level they'll tell you the temperature. For example, you go to the hospital and you check your temperature, they put the mercury thermometer in contact with your body. Then the mercury, when it gets heat from your body, it goes expanding till the temperature of your body and the thermometer becomes equal. Then the rise in mercury level indicates the temperature of your body. Likewise, we measure the temperature using the thermometric property of a mercury. So this is the basic principle involved in this. So what are the common temperature scales we use? You might have seen, right? You might have been heard there are in general two types of temperature scales we use. One is called Celsius, another one is Fahrenheit. So one is Celsius scale, another one is Fahrenheit scale. Here we need to keep in mind two fixed points while designing a thermometer, right? One is called LFP, LFP, lower fixed point, we call it as. Another one is UFP, upper fixed point. So first of all, I'll explain the Celsius scale, how it is designed. First of all, we design a thermometer. No gradations will be there, no numbers will be there, right? And inside that mercury, you can find some mercury column, right? You can see here, mercury column is there. This mercury column will be there. And here, to keep the numbers on it, to grade this mercury as a thermometer, first we keep this thermometer in ice, that is freezing point of water. Okay, the in general we know that the freezing point of water is 0 degrees Celsius. That is called a lower fixing point. So we see the mercury level when you keep this thermometer in the ice. We see the mercury level and mark it as some 0. So we got 0, that is lower fixed point. And another, we got lower fixed point and we need other fixed point, and we keep the same thermometer in boiling water. We know that the boiling of water happens at 100 degrees Celsius. Then when you keep this thermometer in boiling water, its level slowly rises and stops at a particular point. That temperature indicates boiling point of water, and that we indicate as 100 degree Celsius. So we have earlier 0 degrees Celsius, now we have 100 degrees Celsius. This 100 degrees Celsius is called upper fixed point. So we got a lower fixed point and upper fixed point, and in between this we divide the numbers into 100 equal parts. All this gap is divided into 100 equal parts. Each gap or each interval indicates 1 degree. So we got from 0 degrees Celsius to 100 degrees Celsius. 100 degrees we got. In this way we design a thermometer. So what are the steps? First we fix the lower fixed point, then we fix the upper fixed point, and then we divide the interval between into equal intervals. That is how we design a thermometer. Similarly is the case with Fahrenheit thermometer. Here you can see in Fahrenheit thermometer, the freezing point of water is fixed as 32 degree Fahrenheit, and the boiling point of water is 212 degree Fahrenheit. Here there is no rule such that why we have to fix it this 32 only and why we have to fix this 212 degrees only. They arbitrarily fixed it, that's all. Okay, there is no meaning at all. And here 32, here LFP, lower fixed point, is 32 degree Fahrenheit, and upper fixed point is 212 degree Fahrenheit, and the gap between these 2 points is equally divided into 180 equal parts. In Celsius scale, it is 100 equal parts, but in Fahrenheit scale, it is 180 equal parts. Each equal interval indicating 1 degree Fahrenheit. So in this way, we devise Fahrenheit thermometer. So this is the basic principle in designing any thermometric properties, using any thermometers using their thermometric properties. right? And here, not only these thermometers, the Celsius and whatever the things, Celsius and Fahrenheit, we just now discussed. Actually, they are based on expansion of mercury, expansion property, expansion property of mercury. This is one of the thermometric property. And here, in principle, any property of a substance that varies with the temperature can be formed the basis for thermometer. So here you can use any property that changes with the temperature as a thermometric property to devise a thermometer. In earlier case, in Celsius and the Fahrenheit thermometer, we used mercury expansion as a thermometric property to devise thermometers. Here, there are some other properties which can be used as thermometric properties and which we can use to devise different kinds of thermometers on different scales. And here are some of the examples we have. The electrical resistance of a wire. You can use a wire as a thermometer. We know that as the temperature varies, the resistance also changes. So change in the resistance can be used as a thermometric property because temperature is making changes in resistances. Similarly, there are also some other properties. The color of a filament in lamp. When a filament is heated, it gets different colors according to the temperatures. Suppose if it is early at the temperatures, it will show orange color. Then if you go on increasing the heat, then it goes to red hot. If you further increase, then it turns into blue color. Like that, the color, the change in color as a function of temperature change can be used as a thermometric property, and we can devise thermometers using this property. And one of the other property, you might have been heard, metallic strips are used. This is you might have been heard as a bimetallic strips, right? So two different metals in contact with each other, they use as thermometers based on the thermometric property of their expansion. Similarly, here we have one more. The pressure of a gas kept at constant value. When you keep the volume of a gas as a constant and if you go on increasing the temperature, then pressure also increases. This is also one of the thermometric property and can be used in devising the thermometers. So likewise, we can use different properties of the thermometric materials as a principles in devising different kinds of thermometers, right? And here is the problem. So we can get as many possible thermometers based on the properties of the materials, but are there any problems? Yes, we have problems because all the thermometers by principle agree with one another at 2 points, LFP and UFP. Because while designing the thermometer itself, we fix a lower fixed point and upper fixed point. Lower fixed point as 0 degrees Celsius and upper fixed point as 100 degrees Celsius if it in case of Celsius. Likewise, we fix LFP and UFP for any kind of thermometers, and different thermometers, they agree all on this lower fixed point as well as upper fixed point, but they do not agree in between points because their thermometric properties may not be as linear as they are. Because one material, suppose you use mercury liquid, it linearity may be different from the resistance linearity of a wire. So these two thermometers, mercury thermometer and resistance thermometer, they may agree each other. They may show same reading at lower fixed point and upper fixed point temperatures, but When you measure the temperatures in between them, you cannot get the same temperatures in both the thermometers because their linearity may not be the same with the temperatures. So that is the problem with thermometers. They may agree at two different temperatures, but not all the different temperatures. Then it is going to be a problem. We cannot know exactly what is the temperature of a substance. So then the scientists went on searching for thermometric properties which are same for all the materials irrespective of the type of the materials you use, irrespective of the solid, liquid, gas, whatever you use. They must show same temperatures at all the points. So they went in search of that type of materials, and here then they find the help of this Charles law. Now let us try to understand what this Charles law is giving for us to devise the thermometers. So we know that Charles law is for gases. He stated two laws for the gases, and we have already studied Charles first law and second law. Charles first law is valid at constant pressure, and Charles second law is valid at constant pressure and constant value. Now let us see what this Charles first law does. Charles first law is defined at constant pressure. Suppose you have a gas for which you have maintaining constant pressure, then you go on increasing the temperature, right? When you increase the temperature, then what happens? Its volume also increases, provided the pressure is constant. So when the pressure is maintained constant for a gas, if you go on increasing the temperature, then volume also increases. These two are directly proportional to each other, right? Coming to the second law is valid at fixed volume. Suppose you have a gas that you have fixed the volume as a constant, right? Now what you're doing, you're simply increasing the temperature. So when you increase the temperature, then the pressure also increases. So these are linearly varying. If you increase the temperature, then pressure also increases. So if you observe carefully, here you can see that whether it is constant pressure or constant volume, if you increase the temperature, then the other physical quantity is also increasing linearly with the temperature. So at constant pressure, if you increase the temperature, then volume also increasing constantly. At constant volume, if you increase the temperature, then pressure also increasing. Then the scientists got an idea that suppose you take a fixed volume, you take a gas that is fixed in some container and you maintain constant pressure. Then if you go on increasing the temperature, then volume also increases. So you can take this increased volume because increase in temperature as a thermometric property to devise thermometer, because here when you keep increasing the temperature, volume also changes, volume is changing. So there is one property changing with respect to temperature, and this property can be used as devising a thermometer. Similar is the case with constant volume thermometer. Here, if you keep the volume as a constant, then increase the temperature, then pressure also increasing linearly. So pressure is increasing linearly with the temperature. So pressure is varying linearly with the temperature. The property of this pressure can be used as thermometric property to devise a thermometer. So based on this idea, they devised one more thermometer called gas thermometers. Earlier methods or previous method, whatever the mercury thermometers we have seen, They use it as metals or liquids or some other wires or something else, filaments. But here, these people use gases based on Charles law, and further, for they constructed thermometers. They are called as gas thermometers, right? So then, for their surprise, when they divided this gas thermometer, and different people use different gases, and for their surprise, these gas thermometers are consistent with each other at all points of temperatures. Whatever the gas you use, whether you use hydrogen gas, helium gas, okay, or neon gas, whatever the gas you use in this, these gas thermometer, irrespective of their materials or irrespective of the type of gas, they all agreed they are showing the constant readings at all points of temperatures. So this is what they wanted, right? So a typical gas thermometer is shown here. In a container, gas is there, okay, and this is mercury. This is called constant volume thermometer because volume of a gas is fixed here. Now, when this bulb is fixed in some liquid or material whose temperature we want to measure, suppose let us say this is very hot, the the liquid is very hot, then the gas inside this bulb start expands and starts pushing this mercury upwards. So to make this volume as a constant, because they want to maintain this level of mercury at the constant level, so that the volume of this gas is fixed. So they either raise this limb of mercury or they put down this limb of mercury, so that the gas maintains a constant volume. The mercury level stays at 0 point. So this is the principle of the gas thermometer, and they succeeded in this. And irrespective of the gas they are using, these gas thermometer very excellently working, and they are consistent with all the points at all temperatures. Now let us have a look at Charles Law more, so that we can go to our topic called absolute scale. So based on this Charles law, they devised gas thermometer. The Charles law says that volume, when you keep either pressure or volume as a constant things and increase the temperature, then you can see increase in volume or pressure. So let us see how it happens in a deeper manner. You see Charles' first law. It says that for a given mass of gas at constant pressure increases by 1 by 273 times its volume at 0 degrees Celsius. You can understand this by just looking at these equations. So each time when you increase 1 degree Celsius of temperature, then the volume of gas increases by 1 by 273 volume at 0 degrees Celsius when you keep the pressure as constant. Because it is Charles' first law, we keep the pressure constant, right? And look at here. So when you raise the temperature from 0 degrees to 1 degree Celsius, V naught is the volume at 0 degrees Celsius, and when the temperature reaches to 1 degree Celsius, the volume increases by V naught by 273. So you add both of them. Now V1 equals to V naught by V naught plus V naught by 273. Similarly, if you increase the temperature by 2 degrees Celsius, then your volume is going to increase by a factor 2 by 273 times into V naught. If you increase the temperature by 3 degrees Celsius, your volume is going to increase 3 by 273 times V naught. This is another form of Charles law. And finally, if you increase the temperature by T, you are going to get the increase in volume as T by 273 into V naught. So finally we are going to get this formula Vt. Remember this formula, we will come across this again. Vt equals to V naught into 1 plus T by 273. This is one another way of stating Charles law. Similarly, for second law also same thing is applicable, but for second law we keep volume as a fixed thing and we vary pressure as we vary temperature. So we'll get the formula as Pt equal to P naught into 1 plus T by 273. These are the two different formulas we have obtained from Charles' laws. Now, using this Charles' laws, as we are going down temperatures, we are going at low temperatures, what happens? As the people, they devised the gas thermometer, they start doing more work with this Charles' law and they started experimenting with this gas thermometers. And theoretically, in Charles' first law and second law formulas, suppose if you are substituting a temperature of minus 273 degrees Celsius, what is the volume you are going to obtain? Here you need to remember one thing, as we are decreasing the temperatures. So earlier we in the previous slide we have seen increasing the temperatures, but here we are decreasing the temperatures. So when you decrease the temperatures, the volume also decreases. That is why minus sign, minus 273 by 273. So you simply substitute T value as minus 273, then you will get 273, 273 gets cancelled, minus 1 remains, V naught into 1 minus 1, that becomes 0. So volume of the gas becoming 0. Similar is the case of pressure. The pressure is also becoming 0 at minus 273 degree Celsius. So this is actually exactly saying 273.16 degree Celsius, where the volume and the pressure are becoming 0. So what does it mean? It means that in principle, as you go on decreasing the temperatures of the gases, then their pressures and volumes have become a 0 at a temperature of minus 273.15 degrees Celsius. And here still we don't know whether it becomes 0 or not, because as you go on decreasing the temperature, what happens? Suppose gas is there, you go on decreasing the temperature, first it liquefies, then it again turns into a solid as you go on decreasing the temperatures. So there is no question of any pressure or volume. And there are some gases which may sometimes directly turn from gas to solid directly. In that case also we cannot find any pressure. But reaching such a low temperatures opens a gateway to some other quantum mechanical phenomena. This says that this is a 0 point and quantum mechanical effects will be there, which is more complicated. We do not study that here. So anyway, stick to our theory, Charles' law. It says that at minus 273 degrees Celsius, volume as well as pressure of a gas becomes 0. Right? So this is true also when the gas thermometer, when they extrapolated this graph backwards, all these gases, A is a different gas, B is a different gas, and C is a different gas. All these different gases, when they extrapolated backwards to the minus 273.15 degrees Celsius, they are reaching 0 volume and 0 pressure. So that is why this temperature minus 273.15 is called absolute zero, because at that temperature actually all the molecules or the atoms of the substance have almost zero energy. We cannot transfer any amount of energy from the body which is at minus 273 degree Celsius. That is why this temperature is called absolute zero temperature. And one more question. Here we have reached the minimum temperature, that means minus 273.15 degrees Celsius is the least temperature that we can reach. The modern experiment shows that still we are we haven't reached the temperature. We are just nearby it, but still we haven't reached the temperature. And next question is there any maximum temperature? Is there any limit on maximum temperature? The limit on minimum temperature is 273 degree Celsius, and the maximum limit on temperature is, we can say, there is no limit on maximum temperatures, because when uh, when you suppose you take a solid, when you heat a solid it converts into liquid, and again you go on heating, that liquid converts to gas, and again you go on heating gas, the gas again it splits into some different ions, forming some kind of plasma charge distributive layers and all those things. And these charge distributing layers and ion plasma temperatures may range some million degree Kelvin, which you may see in galaxies and stars. So there is no limit, there is no limit on maximum temperature of a there is no limit on maximum temperature. There is a limit on minimum temperature, but there is no limit on maximum temperature. So no limit on maximum temperature, but minimum temperature limit is minus 273 degrees Celsius. So the scientists then they got an idea. They devised a new scale apart from whatever we are having, Celsius scale and Fahrenheit scale. They came up with a new scale, and this new scale starts as a 0 at minus 273.15 degrees Celsius. And this scale they named it as absolute scale of temperature, because they are starting 0 at absolute temperature. And on the name of a scientist Lord Kelvin, they called it as Kelvin scale. So this scale is starting from absolute 0, minus 273.15 degrees Celsius is taken as 0, right? And here the people they kept the gap between successive kelvins, the interval between successive kelvins, same as successive degrees Celsius, so that you can easily convert temperatures from Celsius to Kelvin. So this is the new scale called absolute scale or Kelvin scale. They devised stating that minus 273.15 as a 0. So how you convert this? Here in this table you can see minus 273.15 is 0 Kelvin. So what you do, let us say you add here plus 273.15, then it becomes a 0, and this side also you add 273.15, so it becomes 273.15. So 0 degrees Celsius is actually 273.15 Kelvin. And this is 0 degrees Celsius is freezing point of water, and in Kelvin scale you can call it as 273.15. So to this to get this Kelvin scale, how much you need to add? 273. So here we got the conversion formula. Suppose you have temperature given in Celsius and you want to convert it into Kelvins, then you need to add 273.15, then it comes in Kelvin. And in general, we don't add this 273.5 in our examination problems. We just take it as 273, that's it. So you have a temperature in degrees Celsius, and to that you add 273, then you will get in temperature in Kelvin. That's it. This is the formula we use in general examination. And the boiling point of water, which is of course 100, To get it in Kelvin, just add 273 to this, then 100 plus 273, that becomes 373.15 Kelvin. So in this way you convert from Celsius to Kelvin very easily, because the intervals of Celsius are equal to intervals in Kelvin scale. So you might have been saying that people, they don't call degree Kelvin, they call it as Kelvin. Here you can make you can see the difference. Suppose it is there, you call it as 0 degrees Celsius, but in Kelvin you call it as 273.15 Kelvin. That's it. No degree is used, whereas in Celsius degree is used. So why we should not use degree here? That is the question. So the answer is, let us consider this 0 degrees Celsius. 0 degrees Celsius. This point is just freezing point of water. Freezing point of water. Here the 0 conveys no meaning. 0 is arbitrarily taken as 0. That's it. At freezing point of water, nothing becomes a 0. Still we can cool it further. It is not exactly 0. So that is why we just took this 0 as some proportionate. Similarly, when you consider, so it is just a proportionate one. At 0 degrees Celsius, nothing becomes a 0. This 0 is just a proportionate one, an arbitrary scale that has taken. And when you take the temperature on Kelvin, it is showing as 273.15. That's okay. And now you come to the 0 of Kelvin. When the Kelvin scale shows 0 at minus 273.15 degrees Celsius, it is showing 0, and this 0 is absolute 0, no proportionate 0. This is absolute 0, because all the energy ceases to act in this part. The particles, the molecules, they do not possess any energy according to the classical theory, and we cannot go that much temperature down, but it is exactly the 0. So when the Kelvin scale is starting at 0, when the Kelvin scale is saying it as 0, it is exactly 0. No energy is there, no energy you can take it out, no energy you can see, no molecular vibration, nothing like that according to classical theory. So this is exact scale, this is absolute scale, no arbitrary is taken, no proportion is taken. That is why we do not use the word degree. When you use a proportionate like a Celsius, we use here proportionate values. So when you say that you have moved from 0 degrees Celsius to 1 degree Celsius, your energy is increased somewhat, right? But not exactly from 0 to 1. But when you move from 0 Kelvin, when you move from 0 Kelvin to 1 Kelvin, your energy is increased exactly in 0 to 1, because at 0 you have 0 energy, at 1 you got some energy which is exactly proportional. So here, sorry, which is absolute energy. Here on Kelvin scale you are dealing with absolute energies. Kelvin scale is based on energy scale. That is why we don't use a word called degree in this Kelvin scale. Whereas in Celsius scale, it is a proportionate arbitrary scale, so we use the term called degree Celsius, degree Fahrenheit, like that. But in Kelvin we do not use that, because Kelvin is absolute scale and it is energy scale, right? Thank you.